I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. At 7 p.m. in person and virtual at the town hall. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we can salute the flag if you're able to. Stand there too. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first I'd like to open the agenda. But I need to add a motion. Somebody'd like to make a motion to add an item to the list so that we can I'll do it. Ready.
So what I would like to move that we add item to item 6F down to 6F, which would be the election of a deputy first selectman, which is generally done at the first meeting of a new board. And it was probably no. I'll move that motion if somebody
Give a second. I will. Can you? Okay, Mather seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
too late.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, the motion's passing on. So next I'd like to make sure that everybody understands there's rules in these meetings, and if anybody wants to speak, please raise your hand so that I can call on you. I don't want anybody speaking on everybody. It's just not fair. And let's see, what else was there? I think that's all I got on that. So next, we're going to move to number 2, the public comment. I see we have the bike park of Bolton. Would somebody like to?
I'll start. Do I have to stand here?
You don't have to, but
They don't have.
yeah, just we want you to limit your time. We're not looking for.
I'm going to read it because I was a 5th grade teacher and my audience is not big people like you. You guys scare me. So I have to read it.
Could you state your name?
I will. Yeah, I'm Barbara Modio. I live on Volpe Road. I've been a resident of Bolton for 47 years. So as you all know, I'm new here compared to a lot of the. First of all, I would really like to express my gratitude for all of the people who ran for boards this year and for all of the people who were elected. I can't imagine that any one of you would put in as many hours as you do unless you love Bolton as I do. I don't always agree with your positions, but I never once doubt our shared commitment to the betterment of Bolton. I want to thank you for serving the community. I also want to thank Town Administrator Jim Rupert, who consistently acknowledges concerns that Bike Walk Bolton presents. He treats our concerns with respect, so we feel as though we are being heard. I think it is so important for a community to know that their town leaders and administrators are listening and will proceed in the best interest of the entire community. Since many of you are new to the board, I want to make you aware of 2 volunteer organizations that are very active in town. The first is the Hop River Trail Alliance, for which I'm selling calendars. And it is a recently formed 401c3 whose vision is to maintain, enhance, and promote the Hop River State Park Trail to make it an integral part of the community it connects. The Alliance has representation from the 7 towns that are shared by the Hop River Trail. They were recently awarded a signage grant, which will make using the Hop River Trail safer for all. And you're probably aware already, but the Hop River Trail is beloved by many, many people. And in the first 277 days of this year, over 73,000 people passed by the counter that is at Bolton Notch. Those are the records from the Connecticut Trail Census. And they are, there's an infrared counter there that counts the bodies that pass. So the second, and all of that you can find online too, all of the infrared counters in the whole state are at the Connecticut Trail Census site. The second group that I wish to make you aware of is Bike Walk Bolton, which began in 2016 with the mission to advocate for safe and accessible opportunities for pedestrians, cyclists, and the mobility challenged to move about the town of Bolton. And it is that group that I'm here tonight to represent. Other than taxes in Bolton, a major concern frequently expressed is traffic, particularly the speed of traffic. To that end, Bike Walk Bolton is advocating for narrowing driving lanes. I hope you were all able to view the video we shared, which best addresses small towns like Bolton. The outtake is narrow lanes, slow speeds. Oh, hold on. See, here's the outtake is that narrow lanes, slow speeds, and slower speeds save lives. The town can and should request DOT to implement the recommended narrow lane design in all state projects in Bolton. And beyond that, I'm wondering if it might not be a good idea for the town to create an ad hoc committee that looks into possible solutions to road safety throughout the community. Thank you for allowing us to present our ideas.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jim Adams, 48 Stonehenge Lane. I want to also support her comments that she made and also talk a little bit more about the letter that we sent you. And also if there's any questions you've got about that, be willing to answer those. But again, the letter in summary was basically asking that we work to reduce the lane widths on Route 44 from their current up to 17 feet, which is egregious, by the way, from a design standpoint, down to 11 feet, which is the current standard for Connecticut. Many towns and municipalities have lane widths even less than this. 11 feet is where they say you should take them if you do have large vehicles and you have traffic where there's bigger vehicles. But 11 feet is a break point where you start getting significant safety improvements on your roads versus 12 feet or higher. And again, in some sections of Route 44, and this is east of the Notch, if you're familiar with that is where it goes by Bolton. There are sections in there where it's 17 feet wide. There are places where it's down to 11, and next down near the cemetery is not much you can do there. And the reason that we feel this is important, again, because it really improves safety for everybody. It actually reduces the risk of accidents for car vehicles, because with a narrower road, what happens is people actually are more attentive. They actually drive slower, especially when the speed limit is like 40 miles an hour, which it is along Route 44. I travel that. I live on just off of South Road. I live in Stonehenge Lane. Been there for 30 years. 50 miles to 55 miles an hour is the standard speed limit for cars. A few years ago, I started trying to drive the speed limit. I still do. I drive the speed limit every day going down that road. The road rage incidents I've had on Route 44 of people so upset by me slowing them down by doing 40 miles an hour, I can't even count them. So anyway, we'd request that Bolton actually start embracing Connecticut's recent push for what they call Vision Zero. I don't know if everyone is completely aware of what that is, but very briefly, Connecticut Vision Zero was where they asked this council to develop a statewide policy to eliminate all transportation-related fatalities and severe injuries to pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, drivers, and passengers. Now, that's obviously a stretch goal, and it's not something that's just started in Connecticut. It started actually in I believe it was Norway, where they realized you've got to have that kind of a goal if you're going to think new about how to stop deaths. We had 385 deaths in the state of Connecticut last year for traffic fatalities, 65 of those were pedestrians and bicyclists. 65 people died on our roadways because people are driving too fast, not attentive to what they're doing, and in many ways, poor road design. So we're asking Bolton to embrace this, and the letter actually asked to request the ConnDOT to actually come back and fix these. They just recently repainted the stripes where the lines at the existing location. We realize it's very unlikely. Repainting lines at one location is one thing. Moving them to a new location is a much bigger task, but they're going to be repainting the lines again in 2 years. So we would ask that Bolton start discussing this and having a part of its complete streets or safety plan or whatever that we have for the city to reduce our lane widths down to a maximum of 11 feet. Because there's some places where you might even want something less than that. So that's our ask. Ideally, we'd like ConnDOT to come back and make these 11 feet now. John, I think you'd agree that's very unlikely to happen. So we would ask that this be part of Bolton's plan going forward, that when they come back and start restriping those, this is one of the things we want to do. There are other things that we could talk about, but we're going to just stick with lane widths. Two things I want to mention about this is, first of all, we're talking about paint on the roadway. We're not talking about reducing the amount of asphalt that's out there. So all we're talking about is moving the lines in to make people more careful about how they drive. There's no less space there than there was before. So for turning trucks, turning vehicles and all this, the same amount of road is there. But it's a narrower lane, again, that's 11 feet versus 9, 10 they're using in some places, that makes people be slower and more attentive when they drive. We could certainly use that on Route 44. The other thing is this is not involved adding bike lanes. We're not asking. We may ask that for some. That's a different ask, but it's not bike lanes. We're not talking about adding bike lanes. But this does have the benefit of increasing the shoulder width. And on Route 44, I on a regular basis ride my bike to the notch, and it is one of the most dangerous things I do. Is riding down to the notch from South Road and then coming back, especially up the other side. And there are also pedestrians out there that walk from the apartment complex. So there are people that want to use this road, but quite often they're terrified to because of the situation we have there. So again, it's not about adding bike lanes, but what it is about is reducing lane widths so that cars will slow down and be more attentive and getting a better shoulder for pedestrian access and so forth. And then finally, the last thing is when we sent the letter, there was a mix-up on the videos that were linked in there. Disregard the one that talks about road diets. Road diet formally refers to eliminating lanes. I'm not talking about doing it Route 44, it's a 2-lane road. So road diets is where at 4-lane road, you reduce it down to 3 with a center lane and so forth. What we're talking about is reduced lane widths. And there was a John Hopkins study where there's a second link that we sent you with regard to this John Hopkins study, where a person was interviewed about the results of that report. And it talks about the benefits of reduced lane widths and safety. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. I'm glad that road diet wasn't there because I was confused.
Yeah. Apologize for that.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Matt Anderson. I live at 40 Stonehenge Lane, and I just wanted to show my support of my fellow Bike Walk Bolton members, and I hope you could consider what they said today and moving forward. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Is there any? Yes, go ahead.
Barry.
Yeah.
I'm Barry Stearns. I live in Cook Drive in Bolton. And I'd like to echo Barbara's, excuse me, I have a cold. Appreciation for you people stepping up and running, getting this new board going, and look forward to many good things coming from people. One of the things I want to talk about to you tonight is something I've talked to other board of selectmen about over the years. And that's the intersection of Notch Road and Route 6 and 44, the end of 384. 2 years ago, I sat in this room with the state DOT, and they had a plan to readjust that whole intersection to eliminate a lot of the problems that we have there. It sounded like a great plan when they did a lot of surveying and everything, had it all laid out how they're going to change everything. And then at the end of the meeting, they said, we got a nice plan, but we don't have any money to do this right now. Well, the state of Connecticut's got a lot of money now for infrastructure from the federal government. And I asked the previous board to try and find out what's going on with this project. And I've never heard anything back about that, so I don't know what's going on. the state, that's a non-conforming intersection according to the state of Connecticut. It's just crazy. When I first moved to Bolton almost 50 years ago, if you went down the end of Notch Road, you could go across and go the other way on that road. They finally closed that off after a few accidents. I've had several close calls there. And I live on Cook Drive, right at the end of the Notch Road. Most of the time, when I go out to go somewhere, I go up and around. I don't even go out there anymore. You know, it's crazy. It's speed coming off the highway. It's the bad thing that I would love to see that thing change before somebody gets killed out there. And I think the closest call I've had is trying to turn in the Notch Road, and somebody coming up from behind me and just slammed on their brakes. I had my turn signal down. We got to the right, and they still almost hit it into me. So I'd love to see that thing get corrected in my lifetime. So a couple of things I want to talk about. I'm looking at your agenda tonight. And I look at your minutes once in a while. I read some of the letters you received, and you're going to talk tonight about increasing the first selectman's salary. From the letters I read, they said that they thought that was something that needs to be done because the new charter had increased first selectman's duties and responsibilities. If you read the new charter, it does not do that. It almost reads exactly the same as it was in the last two charters. The first selectman can delegate stuff, but it doesn't mean that he has more duties and responsibilities. I don't know what your plans for that is. I'm sure you're not going to vote on that tonight, I'm sure. But I hope the committee takes into consideration and really gets some good information about whether or not that's something this town needs to do. We have a town administrator who we're paying to do a lot of that stuff. So I just not in favor of that at this time. The other one was, and this one I caught this one today. This is about giving the town administrative authority over firearms control, which I have no problem with this board doing that. But when I read the letter from the town attorney, he stated in here, and I'll tell you what it says. This is a letter that was addressed to Mr. Rupert from Richard Barger, the town attorney. That's a request, I think, of Kathy. It said on here, but he said that Mr. Rupert is indeed considered the chief executive officer of the town of Bolton. The charter says the first selectman is the chief executive officer of the town of Bolton. And I would think the charter would override whatever Mr. Rogers saw. So I just want to point that out. That this town is still run by elected people. So
That's correct.
all right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Barry. Anybody else? Yeah, Ray. Oh.
Hi, Leah Klein for Bayberry Road. And I saw that the reason I'm here is, number one, I'd like to wish you all a very successful term and thank you for your service. So I want to start with that. And on the agenda, I saw a number ongoing business, consider and possibly act on first selectman's salary. So I just would like you to reconsider acting on anything that's discussed here today. I feel that that it would be premature to vote on changes to the stipend or salary until there's a formal proposal and a rationale with data. So that it's clear and transparent to the community, and citizens have been very concerned about the budget. So I would just like you to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Jim Lurch, Brookfield Road, been in town since the 50s. I used to meet the Boy Scouts in this room when it was a full room. It wasn't all partitioned off with little separate offices and everything else. We didn't have little trailers down at the municipal center or renting out, making more space. We didn't have an old school that was falling down and everything else. I really like to encourage you to build a new town hall down where the old elementary school is. Make a new space, get this back to reading so we can vote here too. We vote in town, not have to go to a separate private facility. We need a new town hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Jim?
My name's James Aldrich. I live on Hanover Farms Road. First, I want to congratulate all of you for your success in the recent election. You also have my condolences because most of you have been sentenced to a 4-year term with no hope of parole for good behavior. I'm also here to inform you that all the promises made to you new people that the job only takes a few hours a month are lies, and that the honeymoon as newly elected officials has now just officially ended. Buckle up, you've got one heck of an adventure ahead of you. I was one of the members to serve on the Charter Commission. Our chair was Gwen Marion, and our 7-person team was a very diverse group. I like to think that her job was sort of like herding cats. Gwen did a fine job, and I'm thankful that I have this unique chance to thank her.
Thank you.
Our selection to the Charter Commission was in 2019. It was an enormously time-consuming job. We did most of our work in 2020 and in the spring of 2021. The charter got approved in November 21. The one loose end we never closed out was the issue of the pay for the first selectman. Some of us thought we should set the pay in the charter. The majority, however, wanted the selectmen to set the pay for the new leader. I'm here to seek your support to get this last job done. I believe this is an important responsibility and have been working to address this issue since the approval of the charter. For the past 4 months, that effort has been very open and transparent. I have sought bipartisan support from many leaders. I have made presentations to the selectmen and posted that information on social media. I believe my efforts have borne some fruit. There's a growing consensus to increase the compensation for the first selectman. There are several good reasons to do this. Being first selectman is easily a 20 to 25 hour per week job, while for the other selectmen, it's 5 or 10 hours or less. The first selectman has numerous and quite varied responsibilities. The greatest predictor of success relies on working more hours, learning all the details of each town issue, and of having excellent communication skills to collaborate with and build a consensus among the other members of the board. The first selectman is not an advocate or an activist, but rather the lead administrator, the chief executive officer for the town of Bolton. Based on what I have learned, the following is what I am proposing for the pay increase for the first selectman. Please note this figure is significantly less than what I personally believe the pay package should be, but this reflects the frugality that many others have suggested. The current pay for the first selectman is $16,339.10 per year. I'm proposing that the wage be increased to $600 a week, or $31,200 per year. At 25 hours per week, that equals $24 an hour. According to my calculations, this would make him about the lowest paid hourly worker for the town compared to full-time staff. Healthcare. Give the first selectman the same insurance as town staff has at the same percent copay. Currently, it's about 15%. It's up to the first selectman whether healthcare is needed for himself or herself. Retirement. An IRA where the town funds 15% of the wages per year into an account with these caveats. First of all, it's 15% of your wages. The investments are in an IRA that's self-managed by the first selectman. 25% vestiture per year with full vestiture at the end of one term. If reelected, you're automatically at 100% vestiture. The goal of these recommendations is to reflect the challenges of leading a town at a time of local limited news coverage, growing apathy among the populace for public service, and the many economic challenges facing our community. There's a way to pay the first selectman enough money such that their families have enough income during the term, that the family doesn't suffer for the long and difficult hours put in by the individual serving the town. Public service should not be considered a holy calling or volunteer work done without recompense. It is a practical necessity, and our representative democracy, just as our state and federal governments require people to serve and be duly compensated. Today, I come here to ask you to take up this issue and set forth a plan to move it forward. If you decide to have a public hearing, I'd be willing to make a more detailed presentation to introduce this prior to public comment. Thank you for your time. One other quick comment. By charter, First selectman is the chief executive officer of the town. Very limited power. Many people think it should be the town administrator. And here's the thing, is it government of the people, by the people, for the people? If we're gonna have a person from the citizenry be the top elected person, that person should be the one making the difficult decisions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Sure. Bryce Aronson, 129 Brandy Street, new to town, just moved in May, so thank you for having me and congratulations. I really just wanted to really follow up with one thing the gentleman just said, and I guess it's just for transparency's sake, or if the communications for the salary increase or the presentations that were presented were given to just elected officials and then were shared on social media, I don't think it's particularly transparent or equitable access for those that don't care to participate in social media or are not elected officials. So new to town, looking to learn more and, engage and find a better way to engage with each other. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Ellie King. I live on Brandy Street in Bolton. I just want to voice my support for what the bike walk Bolton folks said about lane narrowing. As a cyclist and a pedestrian, it is a very scary place to walk around when there are no sidewalks. So I think that's an awesome idea and just want to voice my support.
Thank you very much. So I guess we'd be looking for seconds, if anything. Is there someone up there? Is anybody online want to speak?
No hands up.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I guess that brings the public comment to an end. And the correspondence on the bike walk for Bolton. Is there any correspondence?
Jim, we don't have anything else.
No, I think that was it.
No? Okay. So is there anybody want to make any comments on it? Any selected people want to? So I guess we just keep moving forward then, Rodney.
Sorry,
Good.
Mr. Chair. I just wanted to know if, and I know last Board of Selectmen meeting, the last meeting of the last Board of Selectmen, a request was made that we potentially reach out to DOT to see why they may not have, was there a reason why they did not narrow the lanes this time around? And I was wondering if that had happened or if there was a plan to do so.
Because that would be,
So I've had a conversation, I've been in a meeting. The DOT understands that they have not followed their own policy. And they have some new leadership that says they are gonna follow their own policies. But in my conversation with, and I'm sorry, I forget the individual's name. We did discuss the fact that I would follow up with correspondence. So that piece of it hasn't been done yet, but it is in the works. But they fully acknowledge that they haven't been following their own policy. And they have no good reason for not.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
Is there any reason not to?
well, that was the original question that I brought up,
Yeah.
is that if you're not, why was there a reason?
Is there a reason?
Apparently not. But I think, I'm glad Jim's following up with the written correspondence, which we should expect a written response. So that'll be their official position.
very good.
One more, just in reading the letter that was sent in, that passing lane, I think, was part of the issue that was brought up down by the where the traffic light is.
Right after the commercial.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's part of the conversation as well am I reading it right, where you guys want that eliminated, the passing lane? Or is that?
That is certainly something we want eliminated, but our discussion here was really about the lane width, was getting the lane width reduced.
Yeah,
I really think the state needs to take a look at that passing lane.
yeah, I saw it circled in the document, so I didn't know if that was part of what we're asking the DOT and.
Looking at the whole thing, originally they claimed as a passing lane when it originally was put in, slow traffic passing lane.
Yeah,
Well, that was how many decades, a couple of decades ago, so who knows where they are, but this correspondence should correct, at least get a response.
Okay, so that's it for that. I think we can move on to the minutes. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Chairman, I'd like to move the adoption of the November 8th regular meeting. And I know that Pam and I are the only people currently on the board who attended the meeting, other than our guest in the audience. Did you come here just to vote on this, Adam?
So,
I know.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second.
Thank you. Pam seconded it.
is there any discussion on? the
Yes,
minutes?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Because there were only two of us there, I believe it'd be appropriate for the two of us to vote on it and the other board members, as they were not members at the time, to abstain.
Okay, so I'd like to, at this time, take a vote. Bob?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
And
Abstentions.
any abstentions? Amanda, Tim, Gwen, Rodney, and Matt.
Okay.
So that's a 2-5, 2 yes, 5 abstained,
0 no's.
and 0 no's.
It passes.
So it passes. So now we move on to the 4B, which is the November 21st, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve those minutes for the special meeting on November 21st.
I'll second that.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Tim? Pam? Gwen? Matt? Bob? And Rodney? We have 7 yeses, 0 nos. Motion passed. Now we're gonna move on to the discussion of the first selectman's salary.
Right, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman,
Pam, Pam was up first.
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
You got it.
Thank you. We've heard this discussion before with the prior board, and now you've heard it again through the public comment brought forward by Mr. Aldrich and from others in the that came before us under public comment. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I believe it's imperative for the board to consider putting this forward as to the townspeople in the form of a public hearing.
Was that a motion?
I would make it, I started the discussion, but I will put that forward as a motion that we place the issue of the first selectman's salary before the townspeople as a public hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Amanda seconds that.
Comments?
Is there any comments?
Yeah, me, but I concur. I mean, back when we left off at the last session, I think we had an agreement that we have our thoughts on this, and it should be shared with the community to get feedback one way or the other, and at least have a chance for the community to get a sense of why why it's being discussed, why numbers, why this, why that, and we need this discussion. So I think it'd be appropriate to have a public hearing on this. And in my discussion, I would also suggest is that prior to it, we have our administrative subcommittee get together, at least put together some of the proposals that were put out there for discussions, like a possibility of this, of maybe this salary, maybe that. Whatever, health issue, something to that type. So there are things to discuss. Are we looking forward to a salary? Or Jim mentioned a whole lot of things. It's kind of, to me, it's almost like I hate to say it, like a buffet, but that's not what it is. But you're looking at a number of issues, and I think we should lay these issues out so we have an idea of what we're talking about, and what might be a proposal. And I also would suggest is that when we're looking at this, we're really looking at next fiscal year. And my thought is next fiscal year and the following fiscal year, none of them are going to be easy. Whatever we come up with, and I hope we do come up with something that increases some benefits and some pay, that we do it in a step form. Not all at once, spread it over a couple of years. Because you have to minimize the impact, even though we're talking a small amount of dollars. But I think it's only fair for every other board. If we do something, this is how we do it. That's my end of my comments. Thank you. I'll save it for the committee comments and public. Yeah.
Hey, Matt,
I'm sorry.
any comment?
I also wanted to propose that perhaps we could hear from our prior first selectman at this public hearing. Something should be provided. So as a member of the board who ran for first selectman, I will admit that I heard a wide variety of things about what it meant to run for first selectman, and I could not hammer down a set list of duties, how many hours they took per week. I think it's incumbent upon us as first selectman Ronnie and as the rest of the selectmen to track and document what we do as select members. I've already started a spreadsheet tracking all of my hours and what I'm spending them on, not only so that the town residents know what we're doing, but for recruitment for potential other future board members and being able to outline for them what this job entails. I think it's important for the future of Bolton, and I think we should consider documentation moving forward and a potential presentation at the public hearing.
Tim? No, Gwen?
The only figure I've heard so far in this whole discussion is what Jim Aldrich said tonight, the 31-2. I read the minutes of the meeting. Must have been maybe November or October, where there were, I think, 3 people who spoke in favor of the change in salary, and they did not mention any figures.
Right.
So I feel like we're starting, like we really are. I think Amanda's idea is good because otherwise we're starting from like, what's this question mark? You know, where what is this number that we're even talking about? So I think that we need to have something to go on. I mean, we're talking like a $5,000 increase, a $50,000 increase, or what are we really? What is their support for on this board and in the public? And I'm not sure where that figure is going to come from. Are we as board members supposed to be coming up with a suggestion?
And I think we should share with you a lot of the data that was given to us to look over, because the presentations had quite a spread of salary ranges and
From other towns?
well, yeah.
Okay, I would like to see that. That would be
to us, but those are,
They left context.
well, I'm just saying, there was just a lot of, whether they were or not, I'm just saying there was a lot of data which had a huge spread, and I concur with you, most of them were really out. There were maybe of that, but maybe 3 or 4 that might be similar. But those are some of the items that you just don't have, you haven't had the chance to look at it. If you have, at least to give you a little basis of where these numbers came from.
Okay.
And as a newbie to the board, it sounds like it would be important to have a proposed increase put forward for the discussion, for the hearing.
So yeah,
Is that proposal the 31-2, or is there other options that will be on the table for discussion?
well, if I may.
Pull a number out of the air.
Well, no,
That's kind of what I was.
I'm going back to, if I may, go back to my suggestion of, we will be forming up tonight, finance and administration
Okay.
subcommittee.
And they would address that.
We've given the job of this subcommittee to meet and put together proposals to bring before this board, so they can have something to bring forward. It's not something that you can do I don't think effectively at a meeting when we have 50 other topics to go over. This is the topic, this is the thing that subcommittee works on, brings it forward so that the rest of us And, we have confidence, everybody here is very capable of putting this stuff together. I do. And I'm the oldest one.
Yes, man.
So I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question for now or later. But I am wondering what the Finance and Administration Subcommittee is, as for the past several years, there has not been one to my knowledge. How it differs from Personnel Subcommittee, because I would think that that could also overlap with this topic there we are currently discussing, and or how it overlaps with the Finance Committee. Is it redundant? Just trying to figure out what the responsibilities of each of those subcommittees are, and if we are going to propose that a subcommittee work on this item, just make sure it ends up at the right subcommittee.
So, in the past, if it may, I don't mean to cut you off, but just because in the past, that committee has dealt with negotiations for contract salaries and benefits. So it seemed to be my suggestion, it seems to be the appropriate one, because that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Does that answer your question?
Which one, Bob?
The Finance and Administration Subcommittee, that committee at least in the past administrations, we've dealt with the negotiation with our union contracts and
So then what does Human Resources and Personnel do?
They deal with the actual people. Jim, would you like to chime in?
So
here?
one of the projects that we will be having for the Human Resources and Personnel Subcommittee is looking at the personnel policy book, which we have been working on, our staff has been working on updating. And it really we're at the point where we're about ready to bring it to this committee for their work and, looking at. And the idea behind the subcommittees is that we break into smaller groups and we take on some of these projects. And then we bring them back to the board, having been vetted by a smaller group of the board, for consideration, further discussion and potential action. But that is one of the things that the Personnel Subcommittee will be working on here in the near future.
The human resource.
Human resources, it's a combined committee of human resources and personnel.
I just want to make sure that the roles are delineated and clear. This is my understanding. So you mentioned that the finance and admin would handle negotiation contract salaries, but this past year, I know that the personnel committee handled, Jim's review, his proposal for his salary increase. So I just want to make sure that roles and responsibilities and separation of duties are very clear to subcommittee members. That's all.
Okay. Pam, you have anything to add?
I believe that there will be different projects coming before each of these, and I can appreciate what Amanda's asking. The Human Resources and Personnel Subcommittee can be further delineated by this board, and you can make a decision as a board as to what role they will play. So, but I go back to what Bob Morris said, and I believe Finance and Administration would be the best place to send this particular proposal for the motion that I made. There's a motion before us, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yep. So are we all done with the discussion? We can move on to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Madeline? Aye. So that's,
This was the motion to set a public hearing, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
that's correct.
To move to a public hearing. We haven't set a date, but to move this item to a public hearing.
So the vote is 7 in favor, no, 0 no's to move the motion forward for a public hearing.
And Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
would recommend that once there is established a Finance and Administration Subcommittee, that committee be assigned the task to review proposals for the first selectman's salary, whether it is to be increased or remain the same, and report back to the board at the next, or in one or two meetings as the board decides.
So is that a new motion or an amended?
No, it's just a it's just a recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Very good. So do we want to set a meeting date now?
We don't have a committee yet.
We have to get our.
Okay.
That's why it's only a recommendation.
You're gonna have meetings structuring coming our ear.
Okay, so let's move on to
6A.
ongoing. Okay, 6A, consider an act on new business, consider an act on budget workshop meeting dates for 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Yes,
that we accept as presented in the, excuse me, in the packet, the meeting dates as proposed.
Although no time is indicated on the sheet, so I think the dates might depend on what time of day we're
so
meeting.
I'd like to. Well, do we have a second on that motion? First,
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
that's correct. Okay, so obviously there's a discussion gonna happen here. And I recommend that we pick 6:30 for a time frame on all the dates.
I mean. I'm good with it.
Go ahead, Matt, Madam?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I prefer 7 for consistency's sake, but
I'll go with that.
Either
I'll go
one's fine.
6:30.
Either one's fine.
I'd rather go earlier, 6:30.
Um,
Either one's fine.
okay, so I like 6:30. So. And the dates,
Yeah, make a comment, Mr. Chairman.
yes, absolutely.
At many of these meetings, you'll also be asking staff to come and give you presentations. And this means that if we start the meetings at 6:30, it means they don't have to just hang around for a half an hour. Be able to come and meet with the board and give them their presentations. So I think for that reason, I guess I would ask you to potentially consider that as when you look at that. But I certainly understand. I think the 6:30 is better for staff. You know, especially for those department heads that work at town hall.
Tuesdays they work till 6:30.
Right, so you'll be able to just come right after their regular shift and give their budget presentations.
no dinner break?
And I just wanted to note that February 21st is a Wednesday. And
Right.
February 22nd is a Thursday.
Okay,
Made a statement. So good. No, which somehow I forgot to mention.
okay, so I say that we take a vote.
Let's see.
I'm sorry.
We need that correction.
And February 23rd is a Friday, so I'd prefer not to meet on a Friday.
As would I.
So that's a snow date anyway, so we can just have,
You want to leave it Friday?
No, we don't want it for a Friday.
well, it's a snow date. It's not really a meeting. It's only in case we need it.
Yeah,
So you're gonna be the only one who shows.
yeah,
up.
you're the only one here.
We have to meet.
Well,
So for 6, did we intend it to be the 20th?
I think that it probably wasn't.
The 28th.
20th. Or the 28th, you think, Bob?
Pretty sure, we'll see.
February, do we have?
Going from the 23rd to the 28th.
The 20th or 22nd, right?
Can we look?
No,
we
that's
look at the
number
calendar?
6, is what we're talking about,
I suspect it was intended to be Tuesday, the 20th, right?
right?
Yeah,
Wednesday, the 21st.
let's get those corrected on here. That's the 20th,
Thursday, February 20th,
Wednesday, the 22nd, February.
2024.
Oh.
So would we like to make a corrected motion?
Yeah,
I'd make those corrections as an amendment to my
That's
original
correct.
motion.
Okay, with 6:30 being the date and
And the time being set at 6:30.
okay,
and the,
The seconder needs to approve.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a 7 to yes, 0 no's, motion's passed. And now we're gonna move on to 6B, to consider an act on Board of Selectmen members on the following committees. So first, by charter, I'd like to appoint Bob Mora to the Finance Committee. And I would like to ask that Amanda Gordon be put on the Finance Committee, and I believe we need to make a motion and a vote for that.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion, sir.
Yes,
I would like to make a motion that Bob Moore be appointed as the first selectman's designee, and that Amanda Gordon be appointed also for the Finance Committee as the two members to represent this board.
is there a second on that motion?
I will second.
Tim Sadler seconded the motion. Is there any other discussions?
I just wonder,
Nobody else wants to do that.
I just wonder if both of you want to, sir.
I assume they would vote no if they didn't.
Amanda.
No.
I resigned myself to that a long time ago.
Likewise, so I think.
Well, I knew when she tried to get me to join.
No, I know it's you, but.
So soon as he said, no, okay, I said, that's it, I didn't want there.
Well, I was thinking the same thing.
So, okay, everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's 7 yes and 0 no's. Congratulations to Bob and Amanda. And now, now I'd like to appoint, we don't need votes on this. This is one of the things I get to do. To the facilities, to the finance and administrative subcommittees. Tim Sadler, Pam Sawyer, and Gwen Marion. And then to the Facilities and Public Safety Committee. Did I get that backwards?
Yeah,
I think I got that backwards.
Say it again.
Well, hold on.
but also, Rodney, I have a question. I don't know if, do you think it makes sense to ask people what committees they would want to serve on, just in case they might have
Sure.
special skills that could
Uh,
fit in with different committees?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, it is,
Mr. Chairman, would you like to make your recommendation though, sir?
yes, I would like to recommend Tim Sadler, Pam Sawyer, and Gwen Marion for the Facilities and Public Safety. Now, some of these decisions are made based on needing a Democrat in with the committee, the subcommittees. I don't want to have all.
Okay.
And then the Finance and Administration, I was thinking, Mather Clark, Tim Sadler, and Amanda Gordon. Now, if Amanda Gordon's already got too much with the Finance Board, I could understand where she would not want to be on that, but that's my recommendation. Is there any comments?
And what about the human resources and personnel?
That, they told me, is as needed. And if that comes to light, then that would be more than likely when, I don't know, do you?
We already know that we have work for them to do, so I would recommend that we
form that up.
we talk about it and form it up.
We cannot put Amanda on it. She cannot be serving on 3
That's
committees.
right.
I just.
Well, no, not 3, but so after hearing,
Yeah.
so after hearing and the reason I asked is before this, this discussion, after hearing your explanation of what the Finance and Administration Subcommittee is, I'm not necessarily sure that is the best place for me, because if it's contract negotiations and stuff like that, that's very legal and not necessarily an area where I have the most expertise, right? Open to what others feel and, what Gwen's position is as the other Democrat who would have to sit on committees. That was my initial response to when you described what that committee's gonna do. If it was gonna overlap greatly with finance, like the finance committee and budgets and stuff. I see where that tie-in makes sense, but that's not how you explained it earlier. And so I wasn't seeing that connection. I would be happy if folks wanted me to sit on human resources. I write my HR manual at my office. We're in the process of updating it right now and feel that I could contribute something to that group. But it's totally up to what
So.
folks think and what Gwen wants to
How's
do.
that work for you, Gwen?
Gwen's
But
gonna
that's fine. I can't say I bring any special skill to finance and administration committee, but it sounds like Amanda does bring special skill to the human
Right.
resources personnel committee, so her strength would be there. So I'm willing to take on that job of the finance and administration.
And the facilities and public safety?
Yes.
Okay, so, and also on the human resource, would you end up there? I only.
Well, you don't have me on anything
I
else.
don't have you on anything, well,
All right,
I didn't know if you wanted to be.
but that's okay.
I mean,
I will fill that position.
I'm on all of them, to be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, no, but the first selectman is the ad hoc member of all the subcommittees.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could you please review again the recommendations and who you would like to appoint after hearing everyone's
So-
suggestion?
on the facilities and public service, it's Adam Sadler, Pam Sawyer, and Gwen Marion. On
close enough.
what?
Tim Sadler.
Oh, Tim.
I'm not a billionaire.
All right, we got Tim Sadler, Pam Sawyer, and Gwen Marion. They keep making me say it, it'll get funny. The finance and administration, Mather Clark, Gwen Marion, and Tim Sadler. So basically, Mather would be on human resource as well.
I thought you said Bob and Amanda.
Bob, Amanda, and Mather.
Let me ask,
Mr. First Selectman, this is the board clerk. Can you repeat that again for me?
I'll go over it one more time, absolutely.
before you go, but on the board, on the human resources and personnel subcommittee, I'm just gonna ask candidly if Ms. Sawyer would like to sit on that committee.
I would offer to attend and do not have to be a member, as all board members are invited to attend any subcommittee meeting. I will attend if I am so asked.
I was gonna say, I'd be more than happy to.
No. Good try.
Okay.
No, you're talking.
All right, okay,
Human
okay.
resource?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Resource.
so one more time. Did you want to be on anything else, Pam?
No, that works for me to be on facilities and public safety.
Okay. So facilities and public safety is gonna be Tim Sadler, Pam Sawyer, and Gwen Marion. On the personnel committee is gonna be Mather Clark, Amanda Gordon, and Bob Mora. And on the finance and administration, we have Mather Clark, Gwen Marion, and Tim Sadler. I guess that's all we gotta do there.
Yep.
Now we're gonna move forward. See, and or number 6C, consider an act on first organizational finance committee meeting date. I see a recommended December 19th, 2023, immediately following the accounts payable meeting. And then there's 2 other dates that are needed before January 31st. Now, do we need to approve this date? Or is that something that Bob and Amanda should come up with? Or the other 2 meetings
Well,
would be your dates?
no, if you may, you have the elected board. I don't know if they had set their meeting date.
So they had set dates and we said, well, you can't really set dates for a committee that isn't, we'll give them to them as a recommendation,
Okay,
but they can't really set dates for.
without the full committee there, correct,
Right.
yeah.
So essentially, I think they wanted to use the same dates.
So that was gonna be my recommendation, is I would set the organizational meeting for the. Oops, just lost my calendar. First, for the
It's
21st, as that would be our regularly scheduled meeting, and of the prior board, Ross and Bob Monroe
Right.
are already members. I'm already a member. It's already blocked off on their calendars. And if that works for you, Bob, we're guaranteed a quorum.
Is it December 21st?
December 21st, Thursday. It's always the third Thursday.
It's a Thursday? Okay.
And we know that that space will be available.
Oh,
That
that had been your regular, the regular.
That's been their regular meeting.
That's
Right, we don't
probably,
have to hold it, but
then it's probably best that be the basis going forward, since that has been blocked out.
Well, and it doesn't conflict with other meetings.
right.
So this is gonna follow our,
So can I ask a question? Because obviously we have to submit meeting dates to the town clerk's office.
You'll be able to do that at this meeting.
At the 21st meeting.
Right.
Okay,
So you'll be able.
so that's all we need to do is set
Right, so
this
you'll
date.
be
That's
able
it.
to act on the recommendations that the other committee has already made
Right,
as a board to
On the
adopt
21st.
those dates. But remember, they no longer have a capital expenditures committee. And we're required to have our capital budget done by the end of January. That's why it's on here that we need 2 more dates in January to do the capital budget.
thank you. Now I know what's going on. Now it makes sense. Okay.
Cause you're now it, right? Cause and I guess, Gwen could probably shed more light on this, having been a part of the charter committee, but there was probably no need to have a separate
No,
capital committee when you've got members of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education and.
and Board of Finance all there.
Right, all there, so there's no need for the capital committee
Okay.
anymore. So that's now the charge of the finance committee.
So somebody will have to coordinate with the 2 people from Board of Ed. I don't know if they've
Right.
appointed.
Right.
Do you know whether
Not
they've been?
yet.
Not
appointed?
yet, I
Okay.
think that's gonna happen
the 17th?
the 17th.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can't, it'd be hard to set those other 2 meetings without everybody there. So it looks like, what do you think, man? I don't think we could be able to set it until the
So
21st.
we can, that can be on your.
On the agenda,
Meeting agenda for the 20th.
Yeah, this way we'll have everybody there, so we don't have conflicting meetings with other boards.
And I think Kathy was suggesting the 19th just to streamline efforts because you already have
Right.
an AP meeting that day. And I think she was trying to keep you all from having to do 2 dates.
That's all right. I can do it virtually.
So when are the AP meetings scheduled? You just said there was one on the 19th?
19th.
So you'll see
At
on
the bottom of your agenda.
Your agenda says we have one.
Oh, there it is.
19th.
Nice and big and highlighted right there. Okay.
In dark blue.
Yep, thank you.
So I will make a motion that we set the first organizational finance committee meeting for December 21st at 7:15 PM, which would have been the next date for the finance board of finance
At
Second.
town hall.
at town hall.
A second.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye, Tim?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 7 yes votes and 1 and no votes, 0 no votes.
Excuse me, Mr. First Selectman, may I just ask a procedural question about the committees?
Right,
Does Jim set those up? Like, does he coordinate all when we meet?
the dates that we meet,
Of the subcommittees?
Kathleen will start putting them
She
together,
does,
I believe.
so we'll hear from her, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't, there's no regular meeting unless there's a task for the subcommittee. But since we know that there's a task that the Finance and Administration Subcommittee is gonna be working on, and the Human Resources and Personnel Subcommittees, and she'll be reaching out to try to coordinate dates.
Okay.
And she's gonna work with you to try to work with each of your schedules. And we've been toying with the idea of trying to work with Doodle Poll or something along those lines to try to make this process a little easier.
Yeah.
To give some options and try to hone in on dates.
Okay.
So that's how that will work, is she'll coordinate with the members of those committees to get the dates together.
Okay, thank you.
And it's so much easier to coordinate 3 instead of 7.
Yes.
Mhm.
So now we're gonna consider an act. It's number 6D, will be considering an act on giving the town administrator the authorization to perform various firearms permitting and administrative functions. And I'd like to know if there's a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
I haven't made it yet.
She has.
You haven't made it.
Good job, Bob.
Just in case you know, there's one person here who likes to move a meeting along. And it's right here.
Oh, no, I was going to take credit for that one. Come on. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen give the town administrator the authorization to perform various firearms permitting and administrative functions when there is a straightforward application before him. In the case of the background check coming back with unusual information, I believe in the motion, I would like it to say that it would then revert to the first selectman to make the evaluation and approval.
Now I'll second that.
Okay.
And with the comment is that the majority of the function is rather mundane. It's very straightforward. As your citizens apply for pistol permits and background checks, everything normally comes through very clean, never an issue, and it's just automatic. Now, I can't say automatic, but it's a simple process. What Pam is referring to in the motion is when you have an issue where things don't come back correct, there are issues that may be of concern, then I don't believe it would be right to put that burden on the administrative officer to make that decision to turn down or approve. It's really happened. I've turned down a couple.
I did also.
And so it's one was actually challenged, and when it's challenged, you go before a hearing and you have to support your challenge and vice versa. And it's quite the process. So I think for the vast majority of it, it's pretty straightforward. It should be done by the administrative officer. But in an issue where it's a bit more complicated, it should go back to the first selectman as a decision maker, as the motion is made.
Any other comments?
No, down there,
Yeah, I was gonna.
Well, I have a question. So I did, before we heard from the public earlier, I did note that this letter from the attorney, I wanted to further understand the connection between the letter from the attorney and us making this motion, because the letter from the attorney is clearly false. As the CEO of the town is not the town administrator, the CEO of the town is the first selectman. And what is the connection between the CEO and the ability to make these permitting decisions and perform the administrative functions? I want to understand more about that.
The process?
No,
No, what state?
why do we need this letter from the attorney? And since it's not accurate, does that change how we move forward on this agenda item?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman? I believe that this board has the ability and the power to make the decision. And on this particular issue, irregardless of what it says in that particular letter, when we are looking at a matter of public safety, we know that the first selectman has a great role in that. And we are asking only people who come forward with a clean background check to be approved by the administration. And if there is not, if there are questionable items that come back on a background check, that then it would then, and only then, revert to the first selectman to make the decision.
Yes, Gwen.
The statute speaks to the ability of the, either the chief executive officer of the town, which is according to the charter, is the first selectman, or the police chief. If there's no police chief, then the power of issuing pistol permits is given to the chief executive officer. Now, I'm not saying that I think that maybe in Bolton, we could decide to vary this because it could be an issue of local rule. But I think the legislature has spoken here and said, if the power is in the chief of police, if no chief of police, then to the chief executive officer. So I would rather, I feel that if we don't want the power to lie in the chief executive officer, the first selectman, then it could be delegated to the resident state trooper. I mean, the state trooper probably has the database right at his or her fingertips in order to call up the information needed. So why not see that as a secondary choice instead of the town administrator?
Well, actually, the first selectman as CEO is also the head as you just described, for the head of public safety in the town. And what's put before whoever is going to be the signator is a very clear piece, a number of papers on the background check. So it is already spelled out. It's not like you have to revert back to the police for any of that, because it's already been done and verified and comes forward as a document form.
Amanda?
But I would say to Gwen's point, I think we maybe asked the wrong question to the attorney, or the attorney gave us the wrong answer. I think the question we need to ask the attorney is, does this board and or the first selectman as CEO have the power to delegate this specific duty to the town administrator, or would that be an issue?
Okay, that's your question.
Yes.
That's a fair question.
I'd also like to, for the record, state that I have a concern that our attorney, who should know our charter, got this wrong.
The first selectman can delegate a number of powers to the town administrator, and I don't know the answer as to whether this one can be. But there's a delegation of duties section in the charter, and it reads, to assist in the discharge of the duties and responsibilities of his office and of the Board of Selectmen, the first selectman may assign and delegate duties to other members of the Board of Selectmen and to such commissions, boards, agencies, and offices which are appointed by the first selectman and or the Board of Selectmen. So this is the town administrator is not an appointed office. It's an employee. He's or she is an employee. So I'm not sure that the charter exactly addresses the issue of whether the first selectman can delegate this specific job to the town administrator.
I think it's more of a state issue than a local issue.
Mr. Chairman, when the charter is silent on it, the board may act.
Before, because I've been before the board several times, a number of communities they do delegate that out. And some of the larger municipalities will delegate it to their police department. It's not even the police chief. It'd be someone in their office that does it, and the larger ones. So it is delegated out, and the state does allow it. I am sure as hell not familiar with the statutes that allow it. All I can say is, in my experience, a number of communities simply do that.
And the statute,
because they have individuals that are, That's what they do.
So the statute reads, upon the application of any person having a bona fide permanent residence within the jurisdiction of any such authority, such chief of police, or where there's no chief of police, such chief executive officer, if designated by such chief executive officer, a resident state trooper or state police officer, as applicable, may issue a temporary state permit. So the legislature has said, if there's no chief of police, then the chief executive officer can delegate the authority to a resident state trooper. That makes sense to me.
Mhm.
You know, so that is, I would rather see the authority go to the state trooper, or keep the first selectman keep the power. You know, why is it that we are even trying to seek an alternative here from the first selectman doing it?
So there's, in election years, apparently there's quite a few permits that come through. And it's a mundane act of signing it because it's already approved by everybody who's gonna approve it. And it's not like I'm gonna start doing background checks. So it's just kind of a marriage license or whatever. It's a mundane signature, just go through it. Yes.
I'm sure, yeah, you're looking now, you can't see my hand. So I'm not sure, but it appears to me the question is, are we legally allowed to do this or not? Right?
Well, we know we're allowed to do it. We're allowed to delegate the authority to the state trooper, according to the
Well, I know
statute.
that, but I mean, what I'm saying is, are we allowed also to do it to another individual, such as the administrative officer? That is very specific about one. My question is, I'm in favor of this based on our ability to legally do that. And because I think it's it's a reasonable function for administrative officer to do. And I'm not sure, Glenn, if I understand, but I don't know what you were reading, what statute you were reading, because I don't have that available, but
Yeah, it's the one that
does it
Rich cited.
suggest?
It's the one that that Rich cited.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what you're reading. Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you were,
Yeah, no,
okay,
it's Public Act
okay.
23.
Oh, you're I'm
130.
sorry. I thought.
No, I'm not.
I thought you had looked it up on your tablet.
I
You were reading off.
I did.
Okay,
I'm
you're
reading
looking
from
up
the
here.
Public Act,
Oh, okay.
which is referenced in Rich's letter, but he doesn't recite the language that I just
Oh,
was
okay.
reciting.
Yeah.
I guess I would say at this point, to summarize what's being said, there's two potential issues. One, are we legally allowed to delegate this to someone who is not listed in the statute? We do not see town administrator listed in the statute. Are we legally allowed to designate? And then I think the other question that is still remaining is, why are we delegating this task? We understand that it's mundane, but is that a good enough reason to delegate this task to a town administrator who we already know has a very large job description and is busy himself, right? That's, I think, part of what we're trying to understand.
When all that's said and done. Pam made a motion, I second it. I don't know if Pam would like to withdraw your motion, and we'll table this to our next meeting, so we'll have a couple of questions answered. Are you comfortable with that?
My belief is that the selectmen have the ability to designate tasks to the town administrator as they deem appropriate. The statutes, I understand what they're saying. I understand from the reading that Gwen just did. Thank you very much for doing that, Gwen. But town charter is very powerful. And but I understand, listening carefully to what Amanda's concerns are and what Gwen's are. At this time, I will withdraw my motion and ask that and it's not debatable, I would ask that we table this issue for 1 month and come back with more information. And it's not a debatable motion.
Okay, so
Before
Pam,
us is a-
We have to vote on the motion.
you have to vote on the motion to table this for 1 month. And I
Okay.
need a second.
Bob seconds it. Bob Moore, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, 7 yes, 0 no. So it will be tabled until the January, whatever meeting.
January meeting, yep.
Okay, so next on the list is 6E, action on town administrators' contract and wage increase.
Yes.
Um,
And I'd like to have a motion for that. Oh. Yeah, I wrote it down. Wait, I've got to find it again.
I believe it's in our packet.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm not. I have two motions. One.
Fine.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve $3,000 wage increase for the town administrator retroactive to July 1, 2023.
Sorry, Bob, did you say 3,000? Is that what you
3,000.
said? Okay.
Yeah, just
round
and
number.
round
And
number.
I will second it.
Just a comment. Originally, I had a percentage written on there and I made an error in, it was 2.52, but it's a 2.5, like 4 or something like that. And that number came out to about $4 under $5 under 3,000. And, you know, we don't want to do that to our finance officer. So I changed it to what we really had talked about is $3,000. That's my explanation.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded by Bob. Is there any other discussion?
I would just, I read the minutes of the last meeting that the last board had and Adam Teller made a motion that this board should consider this and he supported that figure, 2.52%, which you're saying is very similar to 3,000.
Yeah,
Is
that's
according
right.
to what you just said. And so, you know, based on Adam's support of that and the fact that I was not here to have experienced Jim's performance, so I really have no basis on which to evaluate his performance. I would support this motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain
Okay, so we have 6 in
because I
favor.
wasn't part of the board.
No, we have 6 in favor and 1 abstain and 0 no's. Recommendations have been approved.
Now, second motion is that Board of Selectmen authorize first Selectman Rodney Fournier to execute a 2-year extension of the existing contract with the administrative officer with a salary reopener for the second year.
So second,
Okay, so shall we have a discussion on this?
Well, that one again was discussed with the previous board and it was based upon the administrator's review and that was a recommendation of the previous board and I think was a sound recommendation.
Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor of this motion? Aye.
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 Okay, we have 7 yes, 0 no's. So congratulations.
Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you. So now we move on to 6F, which was the amended agenda. And
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
yes, Pam, ready?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Bob Moore as the deputy first selectman.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All
Mr.
in
Chairman?
favor? Yes.
I just want to say that with his background and his depth of knowledge to bring his institutional memory to bear, he'd be the perfect one to fill those shoes.
Thank you. I agree 100% with that. So all in favor?
Mr. First Selectman, before you vote, can you tell me who did the second on that?
Mather Clark,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So we have, you vote for yourself?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's not the fifth grade here, you know?
Seven yes and 0 no. So now we'll move on to reports and updates, number 7. Properties and Facilities Administration Report. Jim, there's no action.
There's no action, just, you know, and I know that I know you've been engaged as much as you can be, you know, for the last several months, but you know, what's been happening is with the town hall annex, is what we're gonna call it, instead of temporary building. We still have not accepted the final conditions of the building. They did come back and take care of several things for us. But during my vacation week last week, a representative came out and met with Mr. Butchamovich, our Director of Buildings and Grounds. There's still some minor details that need to be repaired. Those are supposed to happen either this week or next week. I believe tomorrow, Landy Construction will begin connecting water and septic. We have a company that we've gone out to bid for a ramp on the building. And we've awarded that bid to the lowest bidder. And they have applied for a building permit and they will order the ramp as soon as the building permit is approved. They want to make sure that they get all the details correct before they order and install a ramp. So that should be happening. They said that probably about 2 weeks after the order is placed, they'll be able to install a ramp. So we continue to make forward progress on that. For those of you who have been driving up and down Bolton Center Road, you probably have seen that there's been some significant progress over the last couple of weeks with the connectivity trail. That the underground piping and catch basins are now in. And that the rest of the trail work will get started here very shortly. We hope to get that wrapped up significantly here in the very, very near future. I don't have an estimated complete date from the contractor as of yet. Because unfortunately, we've awarded the contract to the lowest bidder for both of those projects, and he's doing both the town hall annex and the connectivity trail. So he's doing both projects, but at this point, we kind of need him to move over there and get our water and septic hooked up. Those are the big things that are happening facilities wise, yes.
So so I know at the last Board of Selectmen meeting on November 8th, the estimate was 10 days to finish the connectivity trail. So we're here 22 days later. So what is their reasoning for why it's not done 10 days later? Have they been working on the annex?
No, they haven't been at the annex. They overpromised and underdelivered. But there's no completion date in their contract. That was an estimate. And the piece that they were working on that they felt they would have done in 10 days, you know, in the actuality, it took them about 16 days.
And may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I can't picture where the trail surface is going to go. They've done, the pipe has been placed in the swale. There's a dip over where the pipe is. So it goes down and then it goes back up toward the houses. And so is the trail surface actually going to be placed on the dip? Or is it gonna be uphill?
It'll be uphill.
It's gonna be toward, okay, so is there gonna have to be cutting done into the fronts of those lawns to make it level?
It should end up level at the high end. So there'll be some filling, I think, that's gonna happen more than cutting, but some of both to some degree.
And what about the end toward the firehouse where all that big riprap was
So
put in?
that's a temporary bypass at the moment that will have to get finished before the whole project is wrapped up.
What does a temporary bypass mean?
There's a pipe there at the surface that was collecting groundwater. And that's just a temporary thing that they put in at the beginning of the project, and that piece is not yet completed, but that was a piece that the town staff started and not the contractor. So we've got to get back there and get that.
So the way it is looks right now is
It's not going to be the final.
Okay. Okay.
There was so much water was being directed into that area. And obviously, if you recall some of those wicked
Yeah,
rainstorms we had,
It was pooling.
that was the reason for it there.
Yeah.
But part of it is the recent lot clearing of that new building lot that's right there too, that, you know, when you have a treed lot, as you know, from your experiences in the past, you know, rainwater comes off much slower than when you clear the lot. And it's, you know, just was zipping off of there and just creating all kinds of issues in erosion. And that was our stopgap method to stop the erosion. Because at one point there, we had one particular rainstorm, we had about 4 inches of rain in an hour. We almost lost the corner of the road. We had to do some stopgap measures immediately, and that was one of the things that happened.
And I'll make it, this, one of my pet projects, I've been following it very closely. And one of the issues that they had is the continual rains. I mean, and they were putting in substantial drain pipes in here, and there are days where you simply can't, there's just too much water, you simply couldn't deal with it. And you can ask Mather, working in mud and all that, which you normally can do in 2 days, things in 5 days. It's just, it's a difficult situation. And at least what they have now is all that piping is in, the catch basins are there, the finished work. Let's face it, if you're gonna be grassing and this and that, you're not gonna be able to get anything really good in there till spring. What you do now is it's gonna be all temporary when you finish on spring. And when you looked at the set of plans, that bikeway really is on the far side of it, on the upside of that drain, because you have to be outside of where that whole road in the pitch is still taking a tremendous amount of surface water running well. That's why you see an unusually number of catch basins along that area to pick it up. That's one of the reasons for it, the large pipes. So the walking area is going to be upside of that because we get damn storms that create a lot of water. And I think it was important that it be set up so that we have that bit of elevation difference. So that answers your question.
Is the trail surface gonna be put in before the winter seasons?
I haven't had that discussion with the contractor and the town engineer, but if we think we can get it in and get it stabilized, more than likely.
Is it Landy who's gonna be doing that work?
Yes.
Okay. And that's all within the 186,000 grant
Yep.
that the town got?
Yep.
His cost is in that, okay.
Have we received any letters from the residents that live along this work?
I have not. We, one of the things you see when you look at tonight's AP report is you'll see a bill in there from Bartlett Tree Service. Bartlett Tree Service is the group that we engaged, to preserve the trees, and that's been the biggest concern. We did have a meeting with Michael Harney, and actually Mr. Moore actually happened to stop by while we were actually meeting with him in person. But I've personally not heard anything. The offices, to my knowledge, has not received any phone calls from the residents, and have not received any correspondence.
Jim, on the temporary structure, was there a contract date for that, a completion date or a performance date or anything like that?
No, but we don't start paying until So right now, we owe them around $50,000, which we haven't paid them because I haven't accepted the building.
Okay, no, I just wondered if.
When I tell you, we're down to minor details,
Okay.
And I'm looking at, ceiling grids that are not lined up. I'm looking at, a couple of floor tiles that are not stuck down, some patching that was done that they forgot to paint. I mean, it really is minor details at this point. But we're paying a lot of money for the structure. We're paying a lot of money every month for a lease. It needs to be what we expected, and it's just, it was not what we expected when we took delivery.
Yeah, I know.
And they're making good on it. It's just, I'm not sure why they didn't finish it the first time we were out here, but they came and they took care of 95% of it. And they,
It's frustrating that they
it's frustrating to me
took
too.
so long to begin with and now still need water and sewer too. The last 5% is always the 90%.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry.
I'm glad to know we haven't paid him yet.
No.
Yeah, at least.
So now we move on to our 24/7B FY 24 budget report. I don't know if we need a vote on this.
We do. No,
We do?
well, not on the budget.
Not
report.
the budget. Okay.
The budget report is here for your perusal. It shows you what we've expended, you know, percentage wise and dollar wise to date in each of our major categories. And right now, we look at this and we say that, you know, things are on track with the exception of waste collection. But we've expended, you know, 39.75% of our waste collection, I'm sorry,
23 is 30.
Yeah, so we've expended a significant amount of our waste collection budget. We're a little concerned that we might be under budgeted there. So we're gonna be watching that line item very carefully. But otherwise, we have no current concerns on the budget.
Is there any questions from any of the other members? Take that as a no. And we'll move on to
The tax collector has given you a copy of her summary for her collections as of 10/31/23. And you can see that as usual, she does very well.
You're up over 100%.
So for the edification, like, I was very confused about that when I joined the Board of Finance, and so for the public and other members of this committee who may not understand it, we're at over 100% of what we budgeted, which was under 100%. So I believe we budgeted 98%, so we're at 145 of 98%.
Okay.
Because at first you're like, what?
Is there any other questions on that? Okay, so now we move into 7C, which is the accounts payable report.
Yep.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the AP report as presented this evening.
I'll second.
is there any discussion on it?
It was exciting reading.
Oh, Bobby.
And I couldn't find anything here that I could question.
Pay our Lowe's bill, really.
Nobody has any questions? I'll take a vote on the motion to approve the accounts payable.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 7 yes, 0 no, motion passes. Thank you for that. Is there any budget transfers?
Yes, we have one.
One budget transfer, thank you, Jim.
From $125 from senior to public health. And I can't approve this one because this is an out of budget transfer. So the board will need to act on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve that transfer.
Somebody like to second it? It's $125. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
7 yes, 0 no, motion passed. You're welcome to transfer the money. Now, we're gonna go down to the 8, which is the first selectmen's report. And so first off, Jim and I are meeting with the registrars next week to try to get the voting locations under control. Because the presidential election is next year and there's the primaries, it gets confusing. And there's early voting, which makes it even more confusing. So there's several dates needed on several buildings. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or that's a conversation that's gonna be had, so. I went to the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, which was a new thing for me. There's probably 200 booths, and I didn't know anything about any of them except for the one Tim Sadler had the opportunity to be at, selling solar. Well, I also knew Bruce Marcus, I don't know, the radio guy, but they have a lot of good little training sessions, and it was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of people, and I found that the first selectman in North Stonington is pretty much got the exact position as we do, same number of people, same population in the school, and so I had a good time with him. Lamont happened to show up to give his speech, which was fun to listen to, and then the chairman of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities had his spiel. He was pleading for homeless, which is supposedly up 16% in Connecticut over the past year. So I suggested that he go talk to Lamont, because Lamont had a bunch of extra money. So I thought maybe, but that didn't work. So I assume everybody got sworn in, right? I didn't hear any different, so.
A little late for that.
You made all these motions and actions.
Yeah, right, and everything's.
So Saturday was a lot of fun. The fire department did a great job with the Santa breakfast. They appeared to have a really good turnout. And then, of course, they had the Stuffer Cruiser with the state police were there. That they seemed to have a great turnout. Of course, the Girl Scouts were there selling their swag and their little, which got me off guard. They were selling little fire starter ornaments where you light them and it burns in front of the firehouse. Okay. I bought some. And then, so thank you to everybody who put that on. And then of course, there was the tree lighting on Saturday night, which was very good. And it was interesting that the church happened to have a popcorn thing going out front. So everybody had a good time with that as well. And so thank you to the church, and thank you to the fire department, or the town workers, and the town's rec department. They did a great job. And of course, the lighted path going down along the back of the library, the new path was lined with, I think that was a Jim idea, right?
Yeah, hard work from the students.
Yeah. I guess there was a lot of students who got their time in, or school as their social. So as far as upcoming events, I don't have any. Actually, I'm going to the Salmon River watershed thing, breakfast Thursday.
14th. I think it's the 14th, isn't it?
Good. Okay, I'll have to look into that one.
I think it's the 14th at 8:30 in the morning.
Amanda.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that there's a FOIA training on the 14th. Is that accurate? And is someone gonna send out communication to all of the town commission members that they can attend, or was I missed?
I thought it already went out.
It did.
I didn't hear.
I didn't get it.
It was an email tonight. I think it
Oh,
was
there's today?
Oh,
email form tonight.
tonight, okay,
All right.
to all commission members.
If you didn't get it, please let me know.
I didn't check.
Because if you didn't, then maybe somebody else didn't.
Okay.
Okay, I've known about it for a while, so I've just been waiting. Get excited about FOIA.
I did attend a FOIA thing at the,
Okay, yeah.
and yes, it is informative, and to go twice is probably better. That's you don't pick up a
Right.
lot of stuff, so.
Great.
Okay, moving on. Administrative reports. Didn't have any.
I apologize that I did not have an opportunity to get a written report. Having taken a week's vacation, I was actually enjoying myself in North Carolina a little bit, building gates and putting in new doors. And that sort of.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's what I do for vacation is I work on kids' houses. But you know, I think some of the things that are certainly important to talk about or think about, you know, that happened during the course of the last month. We had a 3-board meeting, which I think was very well attended, very successful. And I think, you know, really as we move into the finance committee phase, you know, we're going to have more of that kind of collaborative effort. So I think that's going to be pretty awesome. We did take delivery of the new fire truck. You should know that we're going to be talking about this a little bit because with some change orders and some things that the fire department had to make changes to in the course of action, we're a little over $18,000 over budget. And we're going to have to figure out where that money is coming from. The finance director and I have started having those conversations, and we will be bringing that back to the board for action here in the not too distant future. Then we've already talked about the trail that's happening, the work's happening on the trail, the septic and the water at the town annex. We did finally get, I think, the final paperwork in to the Department of Public Health for the community septic system that we're working on building.
Yay.
And we are working on generating a new map of the farmable area at the farm because we will be going up to bid for a new contract for farming that space. And because the best advice we're getting is that tractors should not be running over the new septic field. That area will have to be excluded from farming in the future. So we need to define that very well so that when we go out to bid for the use of that space, it's pretty clear what can be farmed and what can't. And we continue to make progress on the Heritage Farm Trail. I know that Gwen and Richard met with Joe Dillon and had a walk, I think a very successful walk on the farm and talked about potential locations of the trail. And that advice is being taken under consideration and being worked on. So hopefully here in the very near future after this December and January holidays, we'll be ready to go back for another public information meeting. The other piece of information I have, and I think I see Amanda has the same piece of information as the grant application for $10,500 from the Secretary of State. We can either reopen the agenda or open the agenda to add this because I need your authorization to apply for it, or we can add this to the December 19th agenda for the AP meeting. Because I believe I have to act on this by December 31st.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we place it on the next meeting as it's so late on the agenda.
I agree. We don't need a motion or anything.
No,
for that,
we'll just
right?
put it on the next
Put it
agenda.
on the next
The
agenda.
AP meeting.
In the AP meeting, we can deal
Special
with
one. Yeah.
Thank you.
That still gives me plenty of time to get the paperwork done. So it's a one pager. It's kind of nice.
Is there any other business? Yes.
I did have 2 questions for Jim. One, what's the bid process looking like right now for the demolition of the Knox Road Municipal Building?
So right now I'm working on an RFP for design professional services. I will have that out before the end of the month.
Okay.
Once we have the RFP done for the design professional services, part of that RFP is going to be having the design professional help us put big bid specs together for demolition and selective demolition. Right, because the piece that's remaining, we have to do selective demolition around. And then we will immediately go out to bid for that as soon as we can get that together.
And then my second question is, where are we in the audit process?
It is,
Where are we
I
on it?
think it's
Oh, I'm
just,
sorry, okay.
something appeared on my desk this afternoon for me to review and sign, so I think we're just about wrapped up.
And I think, did everybody receive their reassessments?
Well, can't comment, so that is- it is what it is, unfortunately,
That's
that's,
Yeah.
the,
I just have a question. Go ahead. When,
no, I'm
It's
shutting my
not
mouth.
on the, Mr. Chairman, it's not on the
I
agenda.
can't talk about it.
Okay.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
um,
Other,
under other, I just wanted to throw out the idea of possibly us having, as a board, having a strategic planning session at some point. I think there's, we all probably have different ideas about major projects that the town should undertake and a vision for the town, and I think it'd be really interesting to hear everybody's ideas and try to work out a plan, things that we're gonna
you
do.
read my mind.
We actually discussed that
That was-
today.
We
That was-
literally were talking
Mr.
about
Chairman?
that today.
Great.
We,
That would
it's
be
a subject,
appropriate to put on the next the next special meeting to,
Special meeting, yeah,
yeah, it's got time for us all.
okay. Okay,
Yeah, but we're a big group and a lot of different ideas,
Yeah.
and we need to bang them up.
all right.
And now adjournment is
So
in
we
order,
down to 10.
also move.
All right.
second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, then there's no discussion.